we have our new guest or guest two people on People Over Politics. So these are, two good friends of, the city of Laurel, I will say. And, definitely I've learned a lot about you guys. And, I don't want to steal your thunder. So, tell the people, who you are and what you guys do.
Okay, I'm gonna jump. Okay, my name is Ana Rodriguez. I'm living off the city of Laurel. I'm working Casa of Maryland. I'm one of the organizers here in Prince George's, and yeah, I'm we here like to learn more and
And Jorge, how about yourself? What's your small pitch? Who are you? Who's Jorge, and why do you do what you do?
Awesome. Yeah, Martin, appreciate you having us here today. My name is Jorge Benitez Perez. I am the lead organizer for Prince George's County with CASA. And, like Anna mentioned, right, we are always learning in this job. And the reason why we do things is to help our community, help working class folks who are oftentimes the ones that know about information or their current local governments the last, right? These folks don't know what's going on, don't know what they can do, and our job is, to let them know what's going on and that we can do a lot of things, right? We can target a lot of these systemic issues if we all get together and fight.
yeah,
Yes.
and another thing is provide the community, provide the community the right. They know they to tell the community they have a right, specific with rent. They know they have a right, and that's why we're there. To talk to people, to talk the community. You have a right. You can't be afraid with the landlords. You can't be afraid in any of that because we're there as a casa. We're there to provide this to the community.
And you guys, of course, have been doing great work. We have some time, so we'll dig into the lower work. But I just want people to better understand, what CASA is and how CASA came about. So for the people who have never heard of CASA de Maryland, the full name is Central American Solidarity of Maryland, right? And so I've known about you guys for years, especially being a Prince George's County resident and being involved in public service. And I know that you guys have, especially when your work was starting in Maryland, was very Prince George's and Montgomery County focused. And I've seen you guys grow and, do more work throughout the state. And not only, do more work in organizing, but, having more of a legislative agenda. And what's really powerful is not only having a legislative agenda, but having the community to support the agenda, right? Because sometimes, that is difficult. Is like, we all might have ideas in how to make this world better and like how to how laws can change people. I realized a long time ago that like you change people's lives through policy, right? So like I just want to underscore that it's important, that you guys really show up not only in the organizing phase and the legislative phase, but your membership as well. So and I think Bernie says it best, whether it's you guys face, it's all of us or all of them, who helped that victory, right? So it's not, me, but we.
Exactly. No, Martin. Yeah, totally. So CASA is a membership-based organization that started, right before I was born, right? Like early 90s. And it started because of the abuses that a lot of immigrant day laborers were seeing. Our very own police officers, whose job is just to protect the community, were attacking these folks that were looking for a way to bring and provide for their families daily. So we created CASA, which was a safe place for folks to just come and say, I'm looking for work. Is it okay if we just stand here? Or is it okay if you guys can help us connect to folks who are looking, for folks to do any type of labor, whether it's landscaping, construction, right? CASA was created for that. And eventually, like you mentioned, expanded to doing services and providing, right? We do policy. Policy is one of our core focuses now because the best way we can help our members is not by helping, a certain group or a few at a time, but making policy changes that'll affect everyone residing in that city, in that county, in that state. So now, we provide services to over 100,000 lifetime members. We are a nationwide organization. We do have, physical offices in Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and now Georgia, right? We've noticed that in our state here in Maryland, it is immigrant voices and working class voices, the ones that are oftentimes left out. So we're happy to, be bringing this crucial movement to states like Georgia, where we know, right, voter disenfranchisement exists. And our organization does a lot to try to, get these folks to go out there and vote, or just simply, know what's going on. Why couldn't you vote? Asking questions like that to, better fix the system.
Sure, sure. And for some people who want to quantify, can you explain some of the legislative policy wins that CASA's been involved with, over the years? I know that some of the things that I could think of is like, sanctuary cities, especially here in Prince George's and Montgomery County, or sanctuary counties. And this year I was fighting on a lot of health issues, and right to counsel, and basically trying to keep people in their homes, so those type of things. But just lay out some things just for the edification.
Yeah, totally. Sanctuary is one of our most recent right bills, and it's unfortunate that it took so long to prove, to our local elected officials that we have rights to, right, and we should be protected as well from a federal agency that hunts folks and has one mission, which is separating families. So that's what sanctuary laws are: protecting folks, immigrants in those cities, counties, states, from having our local police department. For example, in Prince George's County, what really brought me into this was having my family member be turned over by PGPD, right, to ICE. So our police department, it is not their job to work with ICE, but that's what they were doing. In 2019, is when we finally, after years of starting here in Prince George's County, we were finally able to win this. But we fought for driver's licenses for all in the state of Maryland. Anyone, right, as long as you have proof of 2 years of taxes, and you continue being a resident of the state, you can apply for a driver's license regardless of immigration status. We won the Maryland Dream Act, right, which would allow undocumented high school graduates to go to community colleges and Maryland state universities for in-state tuition. Imagine before, right, a lot of undocumented students, come to this country, come to Prince George's County, come to Maryland when they're 4 or 5 years old. And then, they graduate, they go through the whole elementary, middle, high school system. And when it comes time to college, a lot of them are faced with the hard reality of, look, your school is going to be 3 times what someone in state is paying, because you're going to be charged as international student, despite having graduated, from our public schools. So that was a super huge win, right, that we were able to bring to youth here in the state. We have been able to pass Dignity Not Detention, which is a huge bill that would close all of Maryland's private ICE detention centers. That, would close them all down, and, basically send a loud message, right, that we're no longer going to profit off human lives. These detention centers, that was their mechanism. They were profiting off of each day that they had an immigrant, sleeping in a bed. Howard County was getting 100 and something bucks per immigrant per bed, right? So it gave officers an incentive to just go out in the community and want to stop anybody. And if they didn't have status, right, lock them up, and we'll start the process. Dignity Not Detention was definitely a huge win for our communities. But other things CASA has took part of is the injustice system reform, right? Making sure Leo Bar is modified as much as possible, the Law Enforcement Officers Bill of Rights, so that officers and our systems don't have all that time to try to come up with a story, right, after something occurs. We also helped partake in recently, right, the Maryland Healthy Baby Equities Act, which was related to healthcare, allowing all pregnant women in the state, right, to get access to health insurance when they're pregnant, and even after a year, right, a year later, for them to have coverage, to make sure everything's all right. Anna, we have done some housing stuff too, right? We did something with evictions. If you want to share about that.
Yeah,
That's
and another thing, other to what Jorge just say about we win the extra money, the extra fund to whoever undocumented people like immigrations, when they take it, like someone from any, like they live right here in Maryland, right? They can qualify for free lawyer, which is a lot of, it's a lot of challenge for every people who ever not have a document. And that's one of the challenge they being have it. But with this bill, you know state of Maryland, they can provide lawyers, and they can have that, in which many people they send back to their art countries because they not have a proper lawyers, even, or they can qualify for anything, but they not have a proper lawyers, they send you back to your country. And that's one of the things CASA provide. And of course, with the ring strike, CASA was the support to.
That's what I was gonna say. We got you here, right? Like it's been a very good press week. If you guys can't see, let me zoom in. Right, you see that loudspeaker. So as I was telling Jorge, earlier, you're a superstar, but it's for great reasons. You're doing great things in the community, and I've seen you organize in the community, right? So Jorge, I've known you through social media and of course mutual friends, and definitely testifying in Annapolis. But I met Anna actually in the community, right? So like, I guess Anna, you could explain how we met, and to tell about that situation, since
Yeah,
where it all started.
yeah, it was, first of all, it was great it was great to meet you, because it's a lot of change. A lot of change is being done since we meet you. I remember when the tennis on Westgate called, it was the talk truck. It was around there. It was like seven something. And I call you and I said, Martin, you think you're able to, I have your number, and you think you're able to come? And you say, oh yes, I'll be there. And I say, how far are you from Westgate? And you say, no, that's like maybe 5 minutes, but I'll be there soon. I
Yeah,
remember when you show up and everyone like, who's him? Who is him? And I try, we met each other, and I try explain everyone from the community, Westgate, and I tell them how, you was Martin Michaud, and they were so happy, and they were so excited
yeah,
to have someone there to support them,
for sure.
because of that, and that's the way, I'm happy, and I'm glad to have new, I can say, young kids, I can say young because he's young of me, and to help the community. And I see how you energize. You have a lot of energy. I was like, sometimes we was talking like about Jorge, and we Jorge, I said, he have a lot of energy. You have a lot of energy to help
Well,
the community. You and
of course.
everywhere, and I'm so happy.
Well, you bring up that situation. It was a predatory parking situation with new ownership, of course, at Westgate. And there's 2 points I want to underscore. One was how quickly I got there, because I was at City Hall that evening just working on something. So when you called, I answered. I was at City Hall, and I highlight that point because Westgate is not in. Yeah, highlight. Let me say, Westgate is not in the city of Laurel limits, but it is right outside of City Hall. If I step outside of City Hall, I look to the right, and that fence, those red buildings back there, those are Westgate apartment buildings. So it's just in a weird that it's not annexed in. But I'm sure there's some history. I'm sure there's some backstory. But the thought is that is represented by the county, and I know particularly when I was supporting Westgate, not just with the parking issue, but when you guys went on rent strike, right? Like
Yes.
the rent strike has ended, and there's been a lot of successes as far as reduced rents, as far as improve relationships, and management just basically coming to the table. I know you guys are still working on things, but there were colleagues that said, hey, you represent the city, why are you in the county? Right? Like the thought is like that's for one, it's all Laurel to me, and it's in my back door. And the thought is we should also push the county to do something, right? Like, and that's what we have been doing, and we've had the county support, at least from this level in this district, behind the issue. And the other thing I wanted to highlight is I talked about when I met you. When I met you was on 11th Street, and that when we had the
Oh
when we
yes, I forgot. I forgot when we went there, like with the okay. Yes, that's true. I really forgot about it. Thank you for bringing it up.
union style negotiating in the boiler room, like that was real union style, like literally, like, hope we'll come up with something, we need 5 minutes, we'll go in the corner, come back, hey, here's our proposal. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's true.
It was real, and we came back, it was multiple meetings, but we were able to help those seniors not get evicted. I think it was 5 seniors. We were able to help them not get evicted. We were able to work with the landlord, able to get ARPA money through the city from the federal government, to subsidize some of that, and the thought is from that, it was like we have to do something long term, because this is only a year. There's situations, at least the economic situation, we don't know if it will improve, and if the economic situation does improve, it's not saying that every particular person's situation will improve, right? So the thought is, it's like, just as legislators, right then I was like, we got to do something long term. And even talking to different colleagues, they were like, yeah, we can give them money, but what are we going to do long term? Well, that's for us to come up with. That's for us to decide. So that was really where I first met you.
Yeah, I remember now. I remember. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, it was great. It was great that day because we was like negotiate. We have it like back and forth. Give it 5 minutes, and we come back, and it came something great for that. That's me. Thank you for that because you take your time to be there, and you not went only one time. You went like the 5 time we went. It was 5 time, 4 time.
It
You
was
was
like, yeah,
there.
4 or 5 times. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you was there on time, and you was there, and with like the people, the folks there, is that the older people, they was like great and happy.
Yes, absolutely. And like, I know that, just telling the chronology, right? So the chronology is this was April or March, where we were able to help the seniors, able to help them stay in their homes, able to help them not get evicted. But from that situation, council member DeWalt and I, we went through our city, and we realized that, like, some of these rent abuses happen elsewhere, some by the same property owners, right? And so one of the places, was the very next place that, you'll hear a lot about, or you have heard a lot about, which was Patuxent Place, right? So like Patuxent Place happened, and I remember right after the 11th Street, after that situation was resolved, and everyone was happy, we went over to Patuxent Place, started door knocking, just kind of figuring out, what's going on here. Is the same thing? Are you guys being charged a 60-50% increase, from lease to lease? Is that the case? And some of them were. It was one guy, he was facing an increase from, I think it was like 1420 to like 2250, and he was like, whoa, I can't do that, right? So eventually he ended up moving to the Howard County side of Laurel, which was a little bit more affordable. But from that situation, we were able to work out a lot more affordable increase for I think it was 15 or so people. So with that being said, that was the continuation, and then Westgate happened, or like,
Westgate.
while this was happening, Westgate happened, right? So like, it was just kind of the culmination, of things, and the fact that when this happened, you have other people speaking up, right? Like, I think that we can all speak to, once people saw that, like, people are speaking up and people are involved and they have support, that they're now speaking up in other areas, right? Like, like, I'm sure you guys get requests from places you weren't dealing with before, right? Maybe in the city or outside of the city.
Right, Martin. And to your point, right, something you mentioned was Westgate happened, simultaneously as Patuxent was going on, because at Westgate, Anna started organizing there back in February, and that's when she was just, getting to know all the tenants, and we sent a letter to management. We wanted to talk to them. A rent strike was our basically like our last shot, our last opportunity. Like, let's try this and hope that these landlords will come down and talk to us, right?
Yeah.
They had recently bought Westgate 2 years ago and had never, introduced themselves to the tenants, never said who they were, never said their plans with the property. The first thing, that was basically indicative, right, of who they were as landlords was, we're going to increase your rent, you know, over $100, over $200, 300 for some folks. And that would have honestly continued had, we not start organizing in that property. A lot of the tenants did not know each other. They did not know who they were. There's always that language barrier, right? But we always tell folks, right? Do not let language be a barrier. If someone can speak two languages, awesome. That person can serve as a translator to make sure we all get that same message. Um, and Patuxent, right, Martin, actually happened because you had a constituent that lived there that had told us about the rental increases, and unfortunately, right, we did not have capacity at the time. But when we did, his door was the first one we door knocked, and unfortunately, he wasn't there. We door knocked his neighbor's door, and his neighbor, it's so funny how things work in this job. As soon as we door knocked, right, she was like, "You guys don't know how much I needed you," right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You guys don't know how much I've you guys are my answer, because the day before she had just received an email that her rent was going up $800. Imagine it, one lease, right? Her rent was going up $800. So our mission was there. Let's figure out if this is happening to the rest of your neighbors. And she said, "All right, let's do it." We door knocked, and we found out that the cheapest increase was $400, and then the highest one was $1,300. So, even $400, right, of an increase, that's an extra check. That requires extra hours of work.
Yeah.
Working class folks, right? This is not something that's easy for them to achieve. So,
Sure.
me and Anna were mentioning, Martin, this shows, right, how conscious you were when you were supporting the Westgate strike, because although it was happening right on the city limit line, right, you knew this was this was going to happen in the city. And when we went and knocked on the city, sure, it was happening as well. So this is something we had to tackle on immediately, because we've been doing negotiating. Those are just short-term solutions. These landlords are going to come back next year when the lease is up, and they have free range to do whatever they want until we put something in place.
Yeah. And I applaud, of course, the successes, and I know that you guys see personally, once you do the work, how you empower other people to advocate for themselves, right? Like, so you create many advocates sometimes, right? Like, and that's awesome to see, right? Like, people handling issues for themselves after you've empowered them, or
Yes.
or leading the charge, right?
Yes.
Like, what do I need to do? What needs to be done? Like that is great. And so you talked about increases, but I think that I've observed other issues, right? So there was, of course, the story at Westgate, and one of the topics were deteriorating rental units. So I feel, of course, another issue we see sometimes is like, some people, we could use this term, some people, not everybody, but slumlords, right? So that will charge these rent increases, will do these other, abusive upcharges, this, that, and third, but haven't improved the living conditions, right? So like, I know that's one of the things, but I've also seen about notification. I was bewildered to find out in the state of Maryland that, when I sold a building, to the next residential owner, that I didn't need to inform the current tenants, of the sale. It was basically up to the new owner, to do it, but there was no requirement. It's just assumed and expected, so that's why I really caught my ear when you said the constituent was, I think, alerted via email, because I was like, that's That's a pretty weird. When she met her new owner through via email, like that was their first communication. It was really not really like hi. It was like hi, pay your rent, you know, So
And as a tenant, you're like,
Yeah,
I don't even know who you are. Why are you the one asking me
yeah,
for my rent?
yes,
exactly.
exactly. So, I think that there's other things that need to be addressed, and of course, I look forward to the city when we take up this soon, this rent stabilization. I think that there's other things we're looking at as far as notifications, what that communication looks like. What we're requiring communication to be, and then also the registry, the rental registry. I think that is important. We're a growing city, a city with a third of renters. We should be able to easily track this data, be able to streamline communications, and then the thought is like it would be beneficial to everybody, city agencies, advocacy groups, tenants, landlords. It would be beneficial to everyone.
Exactly. No, Martin. And like you mentioned, right,
Yeah.
something we want to prevent is slumlords in the state. Um, the rental registry will definitely help this because it helps code enforcement, right? Know, okay, these are the rental properties, right? So when there's, checkups being done or inspections being done, it helps the process to know who's who, what's their purpose, because what we're seeing at the county level is unfortunately, right, all these out of state, um, based companies, right, like Shrub, that just buy properties without trying to do any maintenance or trying to upkeep, right? They'll just sit in the properties for 5, 10 years. And we saw that example in Langley Park with, Arbor Realty, who owns this complex called Bedford and Victoria Station, a huge complex down, in the heart of Langley Park, where the Purple Line is gonna come, right? They bought these buildings about 10 years ago, and Purple Line construction begun. We know that's going to increase, right, the value of things, and it's easier for gentrification to happen. Langley Park is a community of predominantly 80% undocumented folks,
Mhm.
and they were not doing any maintenance. They were not answering, a lot of times in the summer, folks were left without electricity for days. If it wasn't because we had to reach out, to county council members to turn on the electricity so these
Yeah,
folks can have air conditioning. During the winter, same story, right? We do not have enough heat. A lot of families will resort to using ovens, which are not safe for their homes. Sometimes
that's
they lead to,
that's old school.
that's old school,
Yeah.
right? It leads to apartment fires, right? It leads to other issues, carbon monoxide. Um, and these slumlords come in, and after 10 years, Martin, they were able to leave with $100 million in their pockets.
Yeah.
So they got a $75 million increase right from when they originally bought the property. And I'm not even talking about rent they charged for 10 years. I'm not talking about fees and everything else they profited off of, right? But just in 10 years, their property grew in a lot of income, and they were able to do the minimum and keep folks in homes that were infested with mice, with roaches, with pests. Some folks even have, ceilings that were collapsing on them. Um,
That's a
there's
that's a,
information out there and videos about this that we've done coverage, right? We've called the county, and to my point right, about enforcement, we called the county to, come
I
look
said
at
I
these
called on
properties.
Biden. I know
And
recently I called on Biden. I saw like
yeah, and a lot of times
Mhm.
the county, right, the inspections department of the county would not come in because there's that community distrust. They see the county emblem, they don't know who they work for, they don't speak Spanish. So a lot of time these inspectors would just say unanswered, or if they went with management would blame everything on the tenants, and that's what the
mm,
inspectors would write down. So we know that um, it requires a big reform and transformation. And what you guys are doing in Laurel, I think I commend that because it's totally going to put two pieces that are needed to maintain someone's housing, and that's rent stabilizing and also the rental registry, which would help with enforcement.
yes, absolutely. And
Yeah.
the name oh, I'm sorry, Anna. You
Yeah.
can
No.
go.
No. And another thing is, we as a casa, right, we provide that, we provide the community, right, the learn the right, tell them they have a right, which we know many community, they think, oh, we not have rights. When the landlord come and buy property, they not even like, tell the tenants like, oh, we have a new landlord, we have a new management, and none of that. And another thing, when they come and property, they always other another charger like water. We know we Westgate right now, they when the property manager, that when Shrek brought the property, they came with the higher rent, plus water, $35 on water, plus parking space. It's really being challenged, but I know you're working in on that, and I know we continue working in that, and something we gotta do something about it, because this is been crazy.
Yes, and of course, I appreciate that. And Anna, as I tell you, glad you got more involved in the city. One thing we're missing is someone representative of the Latino population on the city council. So I'm, of course, you might be that person, or help bring that person here, right? Like, I think that even before I came in, I was saying that it would be great to have that diversity, because if you look at Laurel's a black and brown majority city.
See.
It wasn't always that way, but I'm very proud of the fact that it is, and that it is a community, right? Like, we have a very diverse community, and the city is now reflecting it, right? With some of the businesses on the city council, but of course we still need to get that Latina or Latino on the council, and open the door for others, right? Like that should be like a bridging the gap. One of the things that I said is we should have like a dedicated Latino American affairs person, liaison, to make them feel like they're connected with the community, and for that person to go, like, not just sit behind the office, but actually go into the community and connect with the communities, because as you can see, there's different communities all over Laurel, and it's just grown. It's just grown. And one thing that I will ask you guys, and it's to both of you, is like, I of course fight for people who are not only residents, right? Like, but people that live in Laurel, and all people, right? So like some of the people who I fight for might not be legal citizens now, right? But I know that they play a part in the economy. I know that they play a part in the community, the greater part in the community. Like, the thought is like, what is a community without immigrants, right?
Sure.
Like, community without immigrants is a community without culture, right? Like, and that is something that you can accept, is like that you have so many diverse cultures, and that you should celebrate it. And so, people, they've said, well, this population doesn't vote because they're undocumented, and this population doesn't vote because they're renters. So how do you feel, and what is your response to that?
Martin, repeat that last part. Sorry, my video froze.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Of course, I went on a tangent before asking my question. I said, of course, through my dialogue with many people, some people have, countered me and said, well, these people don't vote because they're undocumented, and these people don't vote because they're renters. Some might be one and the same, but how do you feel? What are your sentiments to that?
Yeah, I think the best way to get people to be more active, in government, and that's also voting, is to make it accessible, right? And that can be through language, right? How do folks know elections are coming up if they don't know, if they don't know it in their language? How can renters know, right, if elections are going on, if officials aren't coming to their complexes to talk to them, right? It's an issue where if you're not signed up to a newsletter or you're not signed up to an email, that a lot of folks won't know. So a way to fix this issue is, like I said, make it more accessible, whether it's the city, hosting informationals or events. And that's something, Laurel, like you said, Martin, Laurel has been doing better, is having multicultural events. right? Everyone can feel like, oh, the city is thinking about me and my culture, right? That's so important. Even something like celebrating a culture is important and significant, right? Because it allows folks to be like, okay, this municipal city or this council member or these mayors, right, think about me. They think about my culture. And, it's not just the regular 4th of July celebration, but we're also celebrating Caribbean Day, or we're celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yeah.
So I
But
think diversifying and making it accessible.
On dependent, like yesterday it was Central America, right? Independent, like today is Mexico. This me stuff like that, because I know city Laurel have a lot of Latin community. Like I seen it. I came to Laurel like long time ago, and I see the population is increase, and have a stuff in Spanish when we have um when we have podcasts in Spanish, because it's a lot. I know it's a lot of community gonna hear. It's gonna hear the news. It's gonna hear stuff like that, and they could understand it. They can read it in Spanish. But I'm sorry, they can read in English. That's me. It's something should change, and politicians should be like more outside, talking to the community, talking what just Jorge mentioned, like go to the landlords, go to the community, go to apartment complex, and know your community, because that's the only way you're going to know your community. The community, you want the community to fight for you. You want the Latin community to fight for you. You need to be there with them.
yes, I agree. And I would say that, believe it or not, I believe that there was a lot of renters that, voted for me, and that will continue because, I didn't overlook them as a targeted population. I target the entire population. And of course, Jorge, I'd love to work with you guys next year on doing something for Spanish Heritage Month. Of course, we have until October, so I'm sure we could still do something small, but making something on a big scale happen. I wanted to ask you guys a few quick questions as we wrapped up. It's called like a little rapid round. My first question for you guys, very simple: Pepsi or Coke?
That's a good
Pexi.
question.
Yeah,
I
great,
think I
great one.
think I love the Christmas ads.
Yeah,
So
Pexi's
so
good.
you're going. Which way are you going?
Coca-Cola, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And you agree with the sentiment, Anna?
Yeah, I said Pexi. I love Pexi.
Oh, okay. Okay. I got you. I like the, you know, how you guys juxtapose each other.
And we
The
get
Yes, exactly. So the random question, right? And it really determines your character. Favorite childhood toy and why?
Ooh.
growing up. I was into wrestling a lot, believe it or not, like WWE, so action figures. The first one I ever got was the Undertaker, so that's what I'm gonna go with. My Undertaker action figure.
I was definitely a WWE fan. I can feel it.
Yep.
I can feel that too, because I remember when we was in the couch, and my daughter and my nephew loved to watch that. That's me. If he watch it, we're gonna watch it with him, because he was the baby in the house. It's not the baby, but he was kind of like 5 year old, and he started like rushing
Yeah.
and everything, and he liked to see that. Yeah, I can see that.
I remember mine was a small soldiers action figure. I don't know if you guys remember that movie, but it's an age old one. Okay, last question. Favorite superhero and why?
Superhero.
And it doesn't have to be someone who's fictional, or I could.
I can, I like, well, I'm gonna say movie starter. Um, Sylvester Stallone, like,
Okay, that's fair. I'm not,
yeah, I like the movies. I remember when I was in my country, like, we love the movie when they come on the town. We didn't have a television, and then like came the big screen TV, and put the Rocky Balboa and
Oh yes, I watch all the Rocky.
you know, that's what I, yeah.
Yes. Okay. And Jorge. So we got Sly. And what about you, Jorge?
Yeah, I like the DC Universe Martian Manhunter. He was like the odd one, the only green one, non-human looking, but he could shapeshift, so he could turn into a human. He could turn into, you know, like whatever he wanted to, big monster, and I just being the odd one. That's what I like.
Hey, that's fair. Great choice. And so, guys, you've been awesome. You guys continue to fight the good fight, as Anna would say, and as we would all say, "Si se puede." Right? Yes, we can. So,
Yes, sí se puede. Yes, we can. Sí se puede.
if anybody wants to become a member or reach out, how can they get connected with Casa or you individually, guys?
Yeah, wearecasa.org is our website, and you will find all of our phone numbers because, like I mentioned, we are nationwide. But you just hit up our membership line, and they'll connect you to whatever state, county, or your nearest Casa office. You can reach out to me via email, jbenitez@wearecasa.org. Um, and whatever questions, any thoughts, I always love to brainstorm and talk to new people that are in this, or even renters, right, that have questions. Feel free to reach out to us.
And you can reach out to me too, Ana Rodriguez. We are casa.org, and they're gonna reach out, like, that's my email.
Yes, and definitely reach out to them. Stay connected with them. They do great work. And if we didn't say already, coming up September 21st, City Hall Chambers, 6 p.m. We will be hearing different housing proposals. One would be the administration's proposal, and one would be Councilmember DeWalt and I. I think that there's great things that we're going to take away from both of these proposals. But the one thing that I focus in on is I think that mine's is closest to the community. I've been in the community grassroots, so I think that I very much understand, what the community wants, what can help the community, and still help the business owners grow. And the name of the act, Perfect Act, Anti-Homelessness and Displacement Act. So we don't want to make people homeless, and we don't want to place Larillians, and we want to be leaders for the rest of the county, the rest of the state, and other areas of the nation. So with that being said, I appreciate everything you guys do, and keep on fighting the good fight. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yes, I appreciate you. See you soon. Later.
And that's